Hello and welcome to this video. Here we're going to be looking at factorising single brackets. So the objective here, we are trying to factorise linear expressions by taking out the highest common factor. So firstly, we need to know what it means to actually factorise. So whereas before we've been expanding brackets, factorising means putting an expression back into brackets by taking out the highest common factor. So before we had something like 6 bracket x plus 2, and we would expand it by doing 6 times x, which is 6x, and 6 times 2, which is 12. So factorising is kind of the opposite. So rather than going from here to here, instead, we are going the other way around. So we're given an expression like 6x plus 12, and we need to figure out how to go from here to here. So 6x plus 12, if we put that back into brackets, it's going to be 6 bracket x plus 2, but we need to know how to actually do that. So here's an example. So we might have 8x plus 12 and we need to put this back into brackets. So in order to do this, we need to be able to take out the highest common factor. So we need to think of something that goes into both 8x and 12, and it has to be the biggest thing that goes into both of those terms. So it has to be the highest common factor that goes into both 8x and 12. So if you think about it, you should know that 4 goes into both 8x and 12. So what we're going to do is we're going to put 4 outside the bracket, and then we're going to ask ourselves, what do you have to multiply to 4 to get to 8x? So the answer, to get from 4 to 8x, we need to multiply it by 2x. So we're going to put a 2x here. And then we're going to ask ourselves, what do we have to multiply to 4 to get to 12? So 4 times 3 is 12, so it's going to be 2x plus 3. So the answer to this one is 4 bracket 2x plus 3. So this example here, we have 15a plus 25. So we need to find the biggest number or term that goes into both 15a plus 25. So in this case, it's 5. So 5 goes into 15a and 5 goes into 25. There's nothing bigger. So I'm going to put 5 bracket, and then 5 times 3a is 15a, and 5 times 5 is 25. So I'm going to write it as 5 bracket 3a plus 5. So this example here, we have x squared plus 5x. Now there's not a number by itself that goes into both x squared plus 5x other than 1, but we can't really have 1. 1 doesn't really count. So we can also have a term that goes into both of these terms. So in this case, we can see that we've got an x squared and a 5x. So both of these terms have an x in them. So we can put x outside of the bracket. And then again, we need to ask ourselves, what do you have to multiply to x to get to x squared? So in this case, x times itself, so x times x is x squared, and then x times 5 is 5x. Okay, so this one is x bracket x plus 5. So example 4, we have 10x plus 25x squared. So we need to think of something that goes into both 10x and 25x squared. Now the number 5 goes into 10 and it also goes into 25. But 5 isn't the only thing that goes into both of these terms. So you can see that both of these terms have an x in them. So we don't put 5, we put 5x outside the bracket. And then again, we have to ask ourselves, what do you have to multiply to 5x to get to 10x? So 5x times 2 is 10x. And then 5x times what is 25x squared? So in this case, 5x times 5x is 25x squared. So that is the answer to this question. So example 5, so we need to think of something that goes into 6a, 6b and 9c. So we can pull out a linear factor. So in this case, it's 3. So 3 goes into all of those terms. So I'm going to put 3, and then 3 times 2a is 6a. 3 times 3 times 2b, I should say, is 6b. And 3 times 3c is 9c. Okay, so this one is 3 bracket 2a plus 2b plus 3c. So there's been a mistake in this question. So it says 12x plus 18 is 2 bracket 6x plus 9. So if you want to pause the video and think about what the person who's answered this question has done wrong, I'll say the answer in a short moment. So if you had a go at this, well done. So the mistake that they've made is they haven't pulled out the highest common factor. So it's a common mistake. They've identified that 2 is a factor of both 12x and 18, which is fine, but it's not fine because it's not the biggest number that goes into both of those two terms. So if they did it correctly, they should say it's 6, because 6 goes into 12x and 6 goes into 18, and there's nothing bigger than 6 that goes into both of those two terms. And it's going to be 6 times 2x to get to 12x and 6 times 3 to get to 18. So this is the correct answer. So well done if you got that correct. So here's a typical exam style question on this topic. So we're asked to factorise this fully. So we have 21y squared plus 14y. So the first thing I'm going to do when I see this question is think of the biggest number that goes into both 21 and 14. So if I think about it for a moment, I know 7 goes into both 21 and 14. And I also know that there's no bigger number that goes into both of those two numbers. So it's going to be 7. But I also need to be wary because we've got a y squared and a y. So I also know that y goes into both y squared and y goes into y. So the highest common factor is actually 7y. Open the bracket. So 7y times what is 21y squared? Well, I know that 7y times 3y is 21y squared. And then 7y times what is 14y? So 7y times 2 is 14y. So I'm going to have 7y bracket 3y plus 2, and I'm going to get 2 marks for that. Okay. So here's a couple of quick fire practice questions on this topic. Pause the video if you want to have a go at them, and I'll reveal the answers in a short moment. Okay, so well done if you had a go at those. Here are the answers if you want to mark what you've done. So this is the end of the video on factorising single brackets. So in the upcoming videos, we're going to be looking at factorising quadratics, so monic and non-monic quadratics.